Praxis 5713 Assessment of Reading Skills Preparation Quiz. Question 1. A student is writing an essay and wants to use a more sophisticated word for good in a sentence. The movie had a good ending. The student consults a thesaurus and finds the word benevolent. Which of the following best evaluates the student's potential word choice? Is it? Option A. Benevolent is a perfect synonym for good and will make the sentence much more sophisticated and impressive. B. Benevolent is not an appropriate synonym in this context. Benevolent means kind and charitable, typically describing a person or an action, not the quality of a movie's ending. Using it would create a semantic error. The student should choose a word that accurately reflects the intended meaning, such as satisfying, uplifting, or resolved. C. Benevolent is a good choice, but the student should also add a citation to show where they found the word. Or D. Benevolent is too informal for an academic essay. The student should stick with simple words like good. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is B. This question assesses the crucial skill of using a thesaurus with discernment. A thesaurus provides synonyms, but not all synonyms are interchangeable in all contexts. They have different connotations and specific meanings. Benevolent specifically refers to being well-meaning, kind, or charitable, which is not a typical way to describe an ending. Using it would result in a word choice error, a semantic error. Option B correctly identifies this contextual mismatch and provides more appropriate alternatives. Option A is incorrect. It promotes thesaurus abuse without regard for meaning. Option C is nonsensical. One does not cite a thesaurus entry. Option D is incorrect. Benevolent is not informal, but it is simply the wrong word. This question highlights the importance of teaching students to consider denotation and connotation when choosing vocabulary. Question 2. A student is writing a persuasive essay arguing that school uniforms should be mandatory. In one paragraph, the student presents an opposing view. Some people argue that uniforms stifle students' individuality and self-expression. The student then writes the next sentence. This is a stupid argument that makes no sense. The teacher wants to help the student address the counterargument more effectively and respectfully. Which of the following revisions best models an effective way to refute a counterargument in academic writing? Is it? Option A. This argument is completely wrong and has no merit whatsoever. B. While the concern about stifling individuality is understandable, it overlooks the fact that students can express their individuality in countless other ways, such as through their choices in accessories, hairstyles, and extracurricular activities, rather than through potentially distracting or inequitable clothing. C. People who say that are just wrong and don't understand the real issues. Or D. The argument about stifling individuality is not a good one, and I will now explain why it is bad. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is B. This question assesses the ability to teach effective argumentation, specifically how to respectfully and logically refute a counterargument. A strong refutation acknowledges the opposing view's validity or reasonableness, then provides a logical counterpoint. Option B does this masterfully. It begins by validating the opposing view. The concern is understandable, which shows respect for the reader and builds credibility. It then provides a specific, logical rebuttal that points out an overlooked aspect, other avenues for self-expression. This is a far more persuasive approach than simply dismissing the opposing view. Options A, C, and D are all examples of weak refutation. They are dismissive, insulting, and lack any substantive logical counterpoint. They would undermine the writer's credibility rather than strengthen their argument. Option B models the sophisticated rhetorical move of concession and refutation. Remember, we can take your Praxis 5723 exam for you, remotely and undetected, with pass score guaranteed. Message us via the number in the bio. Question 3. A student is writing a narrative essay about a memorable experience. Which of the following openings would be most effective at immediately engaging the reader and drawing them into the story? Is it? Option A. My name is Maria, and I am going to tell you about a time when I went to the beach with my family. B. A memorable experience in my life was when I went to the beach. C. The salt spray stung my eyes as I scrambled over the slick, dark rocks, my heart pounding louder than the crashing waves. I had lost sight of my brother, and the tide was coming in. Or D. I will never forget the day I went to the beach. It was a sunny day in July. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is C. This question assesses understanding of narrative hooks and effective storytelling techniques. A strong narrative opening should engage the reader's senses and create immediate interest, often by starting in media res, in the middle of the action. Option C does this masterfully. It uses vivid sensory details, salt spray stung my eyes, slick, dark rocks, crashing waves, and creates immediate tension and a sense of urgency, my heart pounding, I had lost sight of my brother, the tide was coming in. The reader is immediately drawn into the scene and wants to know what happens next. Options A, B, and D are all flat, expository openings that simply announce the topic. They tell the reader what the story will be about, rather than immersing them in the experience. Option C is the only one that shows, rather than tells. Question 4. A high school student is writing an essay and wants to use the following quote from a book by author Jane Smith. The most important thing is to never give up on your dreams. The student's sentence incorporating the quote is, Jane Smith writes that the most important thing is to never give up on your dreams. Is this an acceptable way to use the source material? Is it? Option A. Yes, this is acceptable because the student has accurately paraphrased the author's idea and provided attribution with the phrase Jane Smith writes. B. No, this is not acceptable because the student has used the author's exact words without placing them in quotation marks, which constitutes plagiarism, even though the author is named. C. No, this is not acceptable because the student has not provided a page number for the citation. Or D. Yes, this is acceptable because the student has named the author, and as long as the idea is attributed, it does not need to be in quotation marks. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is B. This question tests a fundamental principle of academic integrity and source integration, the distinction between paraphrasing and direct quotation. The student's sentence uses the author's exact words. The most important thing is to never give up on your dreams, without any alteration. When a writer uses another person's exact language, they must enclose those words in quotation marks to signal that they are a direct quotation. Simply naming the author is not sufficient. The quotation marks are necessary to show which words belong to the author. Option B correctly identifies this as a form of plagiarism, even though attribution is given. Option A is incorrect because this is not a paraphrase. It's a verbatim copy. Option C raises a separate issue, page numbers, that, while important in some citation styles, like MLA or APA, is not the primary error here. The core error is the lack of quotation marks. Option D is factually incorrect. This question highlights a common point of confusion for student writers. Question 5. A 9th grade English teacher, Ms. Abernathy, is reviewing her students' first drafts of a persuasive essay. One student, James, has written a paragraph that contains several errors. The paragraph reads, there are many reasons why the school should adopt a later start time. First, studies show that teenagers need more sleep. Second, they are more alert later in the morning, which would lead to better grades. Third, it would reduce tardiness because students would have more time to get ready in the morning. Ms. Abernathy wants to provide feedback that will help James understand the specific error in his writing and learn how to correct it. Which of the following comments from Ms. Abernathy would be most effective in achieving this goal? Is it? Option A. James, you have a sentence fragment here. Look at the sentence that begins with which. It starts with a relative pronoun and doesn't express a complete thought. Can you combine it with the sentence before it to fix it? B. James, your ideas are good, but your writing is a bit choppy. You need to work on your sentence variety. Try to make some sentences longer and some shorter. C. James, you have a comma splice in this paragraph. You're joining two independent clauses with just a comma. You need to use a semicolon or a conjunction. Or D. James, your pronoun reference is unclear. In the second sentence, they could refer to teenagers or studies. You need to make it clearer. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is A. This question requires precise identification of a specific grammatical error and the ability to provide targeted, instructive feedback. The sentence which would lead to better grades is a classic example of a sentence fragment. It begins with a relative pronoun, which and is intended to provide additional information about the preceding clause, but it is not attached to an independent clause and cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. Option A correctly identifies the error as a fragment, explains why it's a fragment. It starts with a relative pronoun and doesn't express a complete thought, and provides a clear, actionable strategy for correction. Combine it with the previous sentence. This feedback is both diagnostic and prescriptive, which is ideal for helping a student learn. Option B offers vague advice about choppy writing and sentence variety without pinpointing the specific structural error. This feedback is too general to be helpful for a student who doesn't know what's wrong. Option C misdiagnoses the error. There is no comma splice in this paragraph. A comma splice occurs when two independent clauses are joined by only a comma, e.g., I went to the store, I bought milk. That is not present here. Option D also misdiagnoses the error. While pronoun reference can sometimes be an issue, in this context, they clearly and logically refers to teenagers, the subject of the previous clause. The primary error is the fragment, not the pronoun. This question assesses a teacher's ability to perform precise error analysis and deliver effective, targeted writing instruction. How many did you score out of 5? Let us know in the comments below. Also, tell us which exam we should cover next. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more.